I'm Mel Barrett.
I'm Rebecca Lavoie.
Welcome to Something's Off, which is a new podcast for us and
Yes.
a video experiment as well.
Something's off, Mel. Something's off.
A new ASMR channel. No, I'm just kidding. Can you imagine? Maybe we should do that.
I
We
don't
should
have the
tell
voice
all
for
these true
that.
crime stories where we're like, and then he dismembered her.
And then we tap our nails in the mic like No, I can't do that.
Yeah, we can't do that. I don't have the patience for it. I love ASMR, but I don't have the patience for it. Anyway, Rebecca and I are joining up for this new adventure because we had so much fun with the readathon.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like this is going to be sort of similar to the readathon, but we're going to cover more cases. We're going to talk about a lot more stuff.
Right.
So I'm glad to be here with you. I love being on camera with you, although this is sort of a new one for us. We only record video every once in a while for the readathon.
Look, I forget.
This is going to be. She's like, oh shit, I forgot to record. So I'm going to try to remember to record every time because we are going to also release this on YouTube as well as our Patreon. So Crime Writers on Patreon, the In-Between Patreon, and YouTube. I will put a link in the show notes for our new YouTube, which I have to tell you, Rebecca, there's no content on it besides the little trailer that I cut together, but we already have 125 subscribers.
Who are these people?
I don't know, but I love them.
So. Should we, by the way, just tell people who don't know who we are, like who we are briefly, just so that they're not looking for like idiots blathering. Although, you could argue that everybody is an idiot blathering. But by day, I'm a journalist. I work at New Hampshire Public Radio. I oversee the podcast team there, and I used to work in the newsroom. And then I have been host of the long-running podcast Crime Writers On which we critique true crime media, talk about the ethics of the criminal legal system and the media around it, and we talk about films and documentaries and other podcasts. And I also host a podcast for Netflix called You Can't Make This Up, in which I interview directors of documentaries on Netflix. And we make a podcast about Law and Order and SVU called These Are Their Stories, which is very silly.
Yeah, you're not busy at all.
No, I'm fine. It's totally
now you have this one too.
I also go on Court TV once in a while to talk about stuff with Vinny Politan.
I didn't get to. You were on last night, and I didn't get to see it, but I'm gonna watch it today.
I'll tell you about it.
I am Mel Barrett. I don't do quite as much as Rebecca because I'm a little bit of a noob, but I am the investigative journalist and podcast host of the In-Between podcast, which is sort of like an investigative true crime. I try to do these longer running series, like 6 to 8 episodes about a case that I'm investigating. My first season was about Pam Smart.
Mm-hmm.
And I have got some updates and news coming about Pam Smart in the next few days, which I'm excited about. And I've got a new season coming out that's going to air with Grab Bag in November about a serial rapist that invaded a community in Morgantown, West Virginia in the late 80s and early 90s. And I will give you a little bit of a hint. I am starting to think that maybe he didn't do it.
Oh.
Yeah. It's very interesting. But that'll be out in November.
Sounds like something's off.
Something's off for sure. Was there anything off about your week?
Well, I just want to briefly tell you about this case I talked about on Court TV last night, which I'm now completely obsessed with. So the way that it works transparently is I get a booking text or email from the producer there, Brittany, who's awesome. And she's like, do you want to come on, talk with Vinny tomorrow night at 9 about X? And sometimes I just can't because I have other plans. But sometimes I look at the case and I'm like, I wouldn't be comfortable talking about this one because either it overlaps with my professional life or because I know if I don't know everything about it, it'll be a problem. But most of the time, it's like something I can catch up on. And I know they're only going to ask me a couple questions and it's going to be about the weird whatever about. And I'm super interested in that. And so yesterday, they asked me to go on to talk about this case, which has an overlap with another one of my interests, which is the Amish community.
Oh, right.
So this is a case in Ohio. It's a guy named Samuel Hochstetler. He was arrested at 18. He was 18 years old. He was arrested in May for a rape murder that had occurred a couple months before that. The victim was named Roseanne Kissinger. Now, I'm not weighing in on whether or not he did it or not because signs point to that he likely did this crime, although there's a huge problem with his confession and a huge problem with the case generally about his mens rea, his like knowingness of the fact that it was a crime. He's Amish, and Amish are not a monolith. There's like 40 different sects of Amish people. There's 350,000 of them. They're not all the same. But the thing they have in common is they're all very insular. And there is a generational history of rape, abuse, incest,
Mhm.
trauma in this community because they don't talk to the outside world and they don't talk to each other about anything. So,
Right.
for instance, a sister could be getting raped by her brother, and her other sister could be asleep right next to her and be pretending to be asleep because they are both being abused and they don't talk about it. So, and there's also a lot of questions about whether or not the concepts of sex, rape, consent are even something that, younger Amish people especially are even aware of because they're not
Yeah.
taught anything about it. They have no TV, they have no radio, they have no, you know, cultural sense of normality or what we think of as normality in terms of like safety, relationships, etc. So that's an interesting aspect of it. But the other thing that's interesting is that this guy, Samuel, when he was interrogated by police, his native language is Pennsylvania Dutch.
Mhm.
It is hard for the untrained ear or the untrained person with languages to understand this because when he speaks English, he speaks it with an American accent and he sounds like he speaks English just fine. But
Mhm.
keep in mind, that's because all the English he knows, he learned from American people who speak English. So why would he have a German accent or whatever,
Right.
right? But there's basic concepts that he clearly does not understand in this interrogation. He says he doesn't know what the word sex means. He doesn't know what the word rape means. He doesn't understand the process kind of that he's involved in.
Whoa.
And the police said to him, "The only way God will forgive you is if you tell us what happened." So they promised absolution to a deeply faithful person who doesn't understand concepts like the police can lie or that
Yeah.
I won't be able to be let go after. I mean, he doesn't know concept of any of this.
Wow.
And so the judge is considering whether or not to throw out the confession, which I've heard in large part the tapes, and they are extremely problematic. It's very,
Mm.
very clear that this young man doesn't understand. And as you know, I'm a person that really believes that even the person who did the very worst thing in the
Yeah.
world has the same rights as the rest of us have. Think about the sweetest, kindest, most vulnerable person you know in
Mhm.
an interrogation situation and they didn't do a crime, and then apply how you feel about that to everyone
Yeah.
because that's how it should be
Agreed.
applied. And that's kind of what's happening here. And I honestly have deep questions too about whether or not because he's not stupid, but culturally
Right.
speaking, he says his victim didn't speak, she didn't do anything. And it's like, but that is the culture of violent sexual crime in this community. And he's 18. Like, would he know? So, anyway, there's a lot of questions. I am not in any way
Wow.
saying that this crime wasn't a crime. I'm not saying she's not a real victim because she is a horrible crime. And I'm not saying he didn't do it. I'm just saying
Mhm.
something's off with the process here.
Absolutely, and let me ask you a couple of questions. So, let's say, like, hypothetically, the judge rules in a way that says, "Okay, this guy didn't know what he did was wrong,
Mm.
and he was sort of coerced by cops that he didn't understand the process." What do you think the punishment should be if they are able to technically prove that he sexually assaulted this woman or
Well,
raped this
murdered
woman
and murdered.
and murdered
Yeah.
this woman? Like, murder is if it were just a sexual assault case, that'd be one thing, but the murder on top of it,
Yeah.
if they can actually factually prove that he did it, what should his punishment be?
Well, if the confession is out, I mean, when there is a video that shows when he was arrested, they told him they were gonna bring him in for a DNA test. So as far as
Mhm.
I'm concerned, any DNA collected is fair game. I don't know what kind of
Yes.
DNA evidence there is. That didn't come up at the preliminary hearing. It was all about the confession. If the confession is out, chances are they will go more. I mean, I don't understand why they're not mostly pursuing the murder part anyway, given all the problematic nature of the potential
Yeah.
mens rea and stuff. I believe the law in Ohio is you don't need to know that something, you don't have to intend to be committing a crime. If you commit it, you can still be punished for it. But there is a mens rea exception where if you don't even understand something is a crime, then you might you might look at the case differently. So I think there's a
Mm.
lot of questions about the sexual assault aspect of this. Not that he didn't do it, but that was he even aware there is such a thing as sexual assault? He didn't seem
Right.
to think so in his, and I'll tell you, there's no reason to believe when you hear these tapes that he's not being truthful because he's so confused, so clearly confused.
Mm.
I mean, and the language barrier is amazing. Like they talk about how he killed her, and apparently she was asphyxiated. And there was also some like physical pressure on her. But he says, "I put what is the thing you put over your body like a sheet, but to keep you warm in the winter?" And they were like, "A blanket." And he's like, "Is that what you call it, a blanket?" And so there's just so clearly some. They should have had a translator. There's issues in translation. I think the murder thing is gonna be more cut and dried for them to pursue.
Well, let me ask you another question then. As far as the murder is concerned, so do you understand how the murder happened? Like, you have that information, or he was sort of mealy mouthed about it?
It seems like he didn't he wasn't able to explain it well because he went afterwards immediately and fell to his knees and prayed, and he was feeling off. He kept describing himself as feeling off.
Now
It seems like
that's funny.
yeah, it seems like there may have been a dissociative incident or something, or sex went wrong, but he didn't
Yeah.
maybe didn't understand how it was supposed to go right, and she died. Now granted, he knew she died,
Right.
so that's where obviously he should have gone and told somebody this
Yes.
woman's dead, and he didn't. Like, they were missing her for 2 days, and then they went to look for her, and then they found her dead. So, there's clearly some understanding there that it wasn't great because he didn't tell anyone.
Well,
So,
it seems like he tried to cover it up if they couldn't find her. Yeah.
yeah. So anyway,
See, I know that, I mean, the Amish understand murder. They understand well, maybe they don't. I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not.
I think they do. I mean, they just don't have okay, I think about the Karen Read case.
Yeah.
Remember when there was an argument in the pretrial hearings
Uh-huh.
about whether or not they should bring on the witness who was a former FBI agent to talk about what a
Yeah.
proper investigation should look like.
Right.
And Judge Cannoni said, "No, because everyone knows what a proper
Everyone
investigation is," but which is,
knows.
by the way, not true, but also, how does everyone ostensibly know that? They
Mhm.
know that from TV. They know it
Right.
from newspapers. They know it from cases that have been overturned. They know it from their pop culture influences.
Yeah.
None of those exist here.
Mm-mm.
So he doesn't have a basis of understanding for Miranda. He doesn't have a basis. So I'm granted, I know that they know murder is wrong because that's like a tenet of the Bible, right? They
Sure.
know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the complications around how a murder could happen, could it be seen as an accident by the community and reported that way? Would the community have reported him? There's a lot of questions. The community ultimately did call the police, so
Mm.
they knew something had happened. Um, but yeah, it's complicated and it's off and it's very interesting, and I will be continuing to follow it.
What if somebody within the community is advising him to play up his Amish card like he doesn't
Could
know
be.
what happened? Ooh.
It could be, but if you hear these tapes, it's
Yeah.
he's not bright enough to act that well. It's very
Okay.
clear. He's just a
Alright.
very he's not stupid. He's just a very straightforward, for lack of a better word, simple, farmy
Uh-huh.
Amish guy. And he
Uh-huh.
did recently move from Kentucky, which raises questions about why he moved from one community. There's a lot of questions about him and his history, who knows? And again, I am not saying he didn't do it, and I'm not saying he's not a
Yeah,
bad
yeah.
person. But the issues with the investigation are I've never seen anything like it,
This
and
is
even Vinnie
fascinating.
Politan said, "I have
Mhm.
never seen or heard anything like this." So, that's
Yeah,
saying
it's
something.
fascinating.
Yeah,
There's so much they have to figure out before they can even get to the crime,
right.
about how the understanding it's very interesting. I'm hoping that we can, dig into that a little bit deeper in another episode. One of the things, though, that I did wanna talk about was this morning, there was an update in this Sandra Birchmore
Okay.
case.
Tell me about that.
Very quickly, it's not a huge update, but the trial has been set for October 5th, 2026.
There hasn't been any pretrial hearings yet.
They have set the trial. They have and the judge is saying, "We're gonna move forward whether we're deciding if it's a death penalty case or not." The defense is saying that they need more than a year to prepare for a capital case.
Yeah.
And also, I guess in my brain, I this whole time I was thinking he was gonna take a plea.
Well, he was arrested more than a year ago. He was arrested, I
Mhm.
believe, in August of 2024.
Mhm.
There has not been a single court appearance, and they have every single time there's supposed to be a court appearance, they have delayed it, delayed it, delayed
Yep.
it, pushed it back, delayed it, pushed it
Yep.
back, delayed it. And I've been following a reporter from the LA Times, Michelle McGee, is that her name? Who
Uh,
basically she tweets about Michelle McPhee. She tweets
McPhee.
about this a lot. I've been following her reporting. She's originally from Boston, so
Mhm.
she also did some great work on the Karen Read case. And she has been basically posting every single time this thing is delayed. And there's really no reason why a federal case with so much evidence would see so many delays unless there was stuff happening behind the scenes. And people thought for a while maybe he's flipping on people,
Mhm.
and maybe he is, but maybe the judge has just had it
I
with the
think that's what it
delays.
feels like. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it feels like from today. I just read, a Boston 25 article about it, and basically she was like, it doesn't matter whether we decide death penalty or not, we're moving forward October
Yeah.
5th,
Yeah.
2026." So that's the one big update. I'm really happy to hear it because I do hope this one goes to trial. This is
Yeah.
another case, like Karen Read, where we need to understand the inner workings of our police departments and our state police and the FBI and all that. And I feel like this case
And
is
the
one of
and the
those.
State Department of Justice.
Yeah, the AGs, the DAs, all that, and there's so much. It's interesting because we're talking about that case. We obviously covered Karen Read. One of the cases we're going to be talking about today, after we get through, a little bit more about what's been happening in our
Some
lives and
gossip
some gossip.
about Karen
Um,
Read and
yeah, is the Brian Walsh case, which is
Yeah,
another case. Yuri Buchanan, Michael Proctor, both involved in that case, and we'll talk about it in a little bit. But let's can we talk just briefly about some Karen Read updates? There's been so much going on since
sure.
August, basically.
Can we just get the gossip part out of the way first? That
Let's
what
do it.
the
I know
stuff that's been going
so
on.
Trauma is crazy.
There's so many people covering this that I don't want to get into the weeds with it. But in case you haven't heard, the broad brushstrokes are that Turtleboy, Aiden Carney, is being accused of recording conversation with Karen Read, which, by the way, in Massachusetts is illegal without the
Right.
two-party consent, also
Two-party
in New
consent.
Hampshire.
Yep.
Um, and ostensibly, the allegations are, and I've heard the tape and I've heard it on social media, and it's pretty clear to me as that somebody was recording the tape that was being played for them from a device. So I don't think in any way, if this happened, that the tape came from him, the public version of the tape. I think somebody he played it for recorded it and released it.
Yeah.
That's kind of clear what happened. But there apparently has been this big breach of trust between the two of them, which was fomenting before. It was fomenting
Yeah.
before his show at the Wilbur. It was like he was
The
talking
Howie
about it.
Carr is like
The
the
Howie
trigger
Carr
point, I think.
thing, he had been saying things like, I should be thanking Karen Read, like in a sarcastic way. So clearly they have parted ways maybe as potential friends if that was ever going to happen. But she has been now talking in the comments and going and speaking to other content creators like
Yeah.
the JFK and
Mhm.
James, et
Mhm.
cetera, Athan about, that she's really angry about it. And so
Yeah.
the entire Free Karen Read movement seems to be really split and divided. And
Sure.
now it's like, people hate Turtle Boy, people hate JFK, people are like, "Turtle Boy, ride or die, he saved her life, blah, blah, blah." It is ugly, it is unpleasant.
I hate it.
I usually don't watch any of these long live streams, but I've been watching them just to sort of see what the rhetoric is and how people are talking about it. I
Yeah.
watched the long one of Turtle Boys, I've watched the Young Jerks, I watched JFK. I will say one real one out of this whole thing is Mike Crawford from the
Mhm.
Young Jerks.
Young Jerks. Yep.
He is, I think, always exceptionally fair.
Mhm.
He is very clear. He went on the Turtle Boy stream the other day, which I think took a lot of balls because he was
Yeah.
taking a lot of shit, especially from this guy, the Glairer, who's been a real shit stirrer. And
Mhm.
he's basically like, listen, Aiden, you need to knock this off. Like, you need to tell people to knock it off. You need to knock it off, whatever. And Aiden Carney, he digs in
Well, he said it in the live the other night that his baseline is revenge. I mean, he
right.
said that. He said
And he
revenge.
digs in, and
Yeah.
this is the thing, and, like, if I were to have a private conversation with him, what I would say is, like, your hubris about digging in, and I understand that he has a lot of well-founded grievances, especially with the justice system in
Sure.
Massachusetts,
Yeah.
where he's still being persecuted for things that are not crimes, and
He's
he should not
facing
be being persecuted.
105 years in jail.
Right, except that they can't now find a prosecutor for many of his cases, which
Right.
is very interesting because
Mhm.
of that whole thing. Look at, Sue O'Donnell's,
O'Connell.
great I always say O'Donnell
I
because
know.
of Nora O'Donnell on CBS.
Mhm.
Anyway, look at Sue O'Connell's recent Instagram video. She encapsulates the story very well. Of course, he's been reporting on it, but she has this, like, 1-minute recap about
Yep.
the prosecutor situation, which is great. Has to do with Lindsay Gaetani, who's now, like, on the verge of
Ooh.
saying Karen Read didn't do it. She was, like, so close.
Not only is she on the
Um,
verge of saying Karen Read didn't do it, she's also, not on the verge, but jumped over in saying that Jen McCabe was
Puppet Master.
actually, yeah, puppet master. So
Yeah, it's
look at
incredible.
those videos, it's crazy.
I don't find her to be a trustworthy narrator in any
No.
way. However, seeing this whole thing sort of disintegrate, it was completely predictable
Mhm.
and is kind of juicy. But anyway, there's this huge division. It's a whole thing happening. I'm just gonna say for the record, I don't know really any of these people. The only person I've talked to at any kind of length is Aiden Carney Turtleboy,
Mhm.
who I have even though he has done some things that I have literally told him, like, I would never fucking do that. I would
Yeah.
never say that. Like, he'll
Yeah.
say things. He said a thing on a stream the other day about libs of TikTok saying all she's doing is pointing out the shitty behavior of other people. I'm like, no, she's lying about what people did. Like, he definitely has a worldview that's very different from mine. Okay.
Yep.
Of course, I weirdly also have this, like, older sisterly affection toward him. Like, he
Mhm.
reminds me of people I know. I understand his sort of aggrieved stance. I think a lot of what he does is needed in the
Mhm.
media sphere. So, like, I
Yep.
have affection toward him. It doesn't mean that I'm, like, ride or die if he does anything that's, like, egregious and awful, but I do understand him, and
Mhm.
he digs in. Like, he digs in. Like, he's on his back feet. He feels whatever, and he's like, "Well, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you."
Yeah.
And if anyone is sort of aligning with him, he embraces them, even if he's not somebody he would normally like. And if anyone is against him, and that's why I think that Mike Crawford was so ballsy for going on his stream, because
Yeah.
Mike is a universally liked guy who's now being
Yes.
attacked. And he's
Attacked.
like, this isn't good. He's like, I'm losing subscribers. People don't trust me. You need to help cool. You are one of the only people, you and Karen Read are the only people with the power to
Yep.
cool this whole thing down. And neither one of you are doing that. And
Because 'Cause they're both hotheads.
she can't be asked to do anything right now because she's still, like, the Karen Read of it all, and she's being sued
Right.
and all this stuff. He can't say a lot of things out loud because he's in legal peril, and some of the things he could say out loud could get him in more trouble. It is a fucking mess. So anyway, that's what's going on.
It is, and it's a fucking mess, and they're the nucleus of a bunch of sort of crazies.
Yes.
So, this guy, the Glare, Will, when Mike confronted Aiden about Will, he was like, "What do you want me to do? I've told him to not say certain things. I can't control him. He's going out there and do da." But it's sort of like when I heard him say those things, like Mike is saying, "Calm your people down. They're acting crazy. They're gonna cause problems. They're gonna maybe violence, maybe something." It reminded me of, you know, a certain base in our political sphere that gets riled up by the leader and can't be tamped down by the leader, and the leader doesn't wanna tamp them down.
Right. But I mean, I sort of what he says is I say things and I don't tell people to do things. I'll say maybe technically that's true. I
Yeah.
think what Mike was saying was not that you can control your followers, but that you
Right.
can characterize this differently. You can
Yes.
maybe do more olive branchy type stuff. You can maybe try to make peace behind the scenes a little harder. You can do those things.
Yep.
And he may have been doing those things. I don't know. I'm not saying he hasn't, but I think Mike was saying, like, the temperature, generally speaking, not just on the mic, but off the mic, are all of our temperatures need to come down. And
Yeah.
not, and, granted, everyone's taking their eye off the ball now. Like, whether you can fucking hate Turtle Boy, but think about what I
Mhm.
said before. Think about the nicest, most vulnerable person you know being
Yep.
wrongly prosecuted for trumped up charges in order to get dirt on a murder case that they felt like embarrassed they weren't able to bring home. Like, that is what's going
Yes.
on here. And he's
Yep.
being really persecuted. He's not helping with some of the things he does, obviously, but
No.
it shouldn't be happening. And that's your eye on the prize. The civil suit is your eye on the prize. Karen Read potentially suing all the McAlberts, eye on the prize. The fact that now they are both being investigated again by the Norfolk County DA's office for witness intimidation, and apparently they're trying to convene a new grand jury. That is
Yeah.
criminal, and that's what everybody, in my opinion, like if you can push some of this noise away and don't forget about those things.
And I think but the issue is this is what we talked about right at the end of the trial, and I said on one of our readathon episodes, "My fear is that they're not gonna know what to do with themselves anymore."
Yeah,
And this is what's happening because they don't know what to do with themselves. They don't have trial every day to watch and commentate on.
they don't have an
They
audience
don't
as
have
big of an
they don't have an
audience.
as big of an audience, and so they're just burning the house down because they wanna talk about something. That's what it feels like to me.
Mhm.
You know, I'm I am really concerned. I'm gonna say this about the Karen Read situation. I'm concerned about the fact that they are still holding 2 of her cell phones
Yes.
and that they are investigating and potentially calling another grand jury to bring charges against her for witness intimidation. They have got to let this woman go.
Do you believe for a second that they haven't already searched those phones?
No, they've had them for what, 3 years?
I don't
This is
believe it either. It's
insane.
my
It
opinion
feels like
that they have probably already searched those phones.
that's my opinion as well, and my opinion is that her rights are being trampled on
Yeah,
every day they hold those phones
they're
and
grand jury
threaten.
shopping. Yeah.
Because, yeah, they're grand jury shopping. Whether they do it or not, the threat that it's there, the idea that she's living, she's free right now, but they could take that back any second. That's what it feels like to me.
Mhm.
Whether they go through this or not, whether they charge her with anything or not, they're doing the same thing they've been doing to Aiden, which is the threat of taking your freedom away is there, and we have the power, you don't.
That's right.
And
They're
that
humiliated, and they're continuing to try to save face, and when you have Sue O'Connell making videos saying, "This is unbelievable," like, very measured commentator
Yeah,
and reporter, and has really been trying to keep her nose clean and was very
yeah.
transparent about not being able to comment on the Aiden Carney thing because she also covers him in the newsroom. It's like she is you have a Boston reporter saying this is unbelievable that isn't
Mhm.
Howie Carr, who's not a reporter, by the way. So,
Right, yeah. Mhm.
anyway, yeah, so that's what's going on there. If you're interested in the gossip, look at Lindsay Gaetani's Twitter, look at Mike Crawford, watch a few minutes of any of these streams.
Yeah, the last stream that was out, the last live stream that Aiden did, I think is important. It's the one that Mike came on. And I thought Mike handled himself really well, and he wasn't afraid to challenge Aiden. And the thing that I here's where my respect lies with Aiden is that he is willing to be challenged,
Mm.
and he will talk it out with
He can
you.
take it.
He can take it.
Yeah,
He can defend himself or not. You can have a disagreement. You can debate. I think we have lost the ability to debate in this country
in good faith.
in
The
good
ability to
faith.
debate in good there's plenty of ability to debate
Yeah.
not in good faith, which is what you're
Yeah.
seeing defended as real debate, but it's not. It's not really a debate when you know what you're saying isn't true and it's all about goading and it's all about trying to trick people. That's not a debate. A debate is a
Yeah.
free exchange of ideas. Here's what I think. Okay, I heard you, but here's why I
Mhm.
disagree. Like that's a
Yeah.
debate.
Yeah. The only other update I think with Karen Read is that the judge did rule on the case dismissal, the motion that was put through from the defense to dismiss the case. He seems like a very balanced, fair judge. I'll say that he dismissed the part of the suit that dealt with Kaylee.
Kaylee. Yeah.
So he dismissed that part of the suit that dealt with Kaylee. So the rest of it stands. But I felt like he combed through their motion and he figured out what was right and what was wrong and he ruled on it. And I feel like that's pretty fair.
Yeah. I think
Thoughts?
I'm always reticent to say that those judges are problematic because they have a job and they interpret the law and they're not looking at all the live streams we're looking at. They don't have like
Nope.
all this context, they don't have whatever. And I know people have criticisms of him for other cases or whatever, but in this matter, he does seem balanced. He's willing to listen to even things that seem like a stretch. I
Yeah.
don't believe he's going to let Karen's countersuit be rolled into this proceeding. I really don't, and I don't
No.
understand why they argued it that way, except I think that it was just public, it was just to announce it was happening.
Publicity. Yeah,
um, but I'm also looking forward to seeing what comes of that. We'll see.
I am too. Should we talk about what we're here to talk about?
Oh, we're here to talk about something else? Yes, let's talk about Brian Walsh, another case that I'm very interested in, but you know a lot more about than I do.
I know a little bit. I've been trying to look into so the things that are interesting to me about this case are the things that were happening before the murder happened. So I'm just going to do a really quick like Cliff Notes version of what happened for the audience in case they're not familiar. Anna Walsh, Brian Walsh were married. They had 3 kids. They lived in Boston.
Boston's a region. It's like Los Angeles, and like people talk about the towns all around Boston as if it's Boston, and then people who live in those towns are like, it's not Boston, it's X. It's a whole thing. So
Yeah.
just saying Boston is safe as far as this is a safe
This was
space.
Boston. They lived in Boston proper though.
Okay.
They
This is a
lived
safe
in
space though to fuck it up and say Boston when it's actually like, some other town, like, one of those
I know.
towns
Well,
you
it's
see
not
on the
like
airport.
Andover or
No,
like,
it's not
something like that. No,
Lowell,
it's not Lowell. It's not Lynn. You're not from
New
that
England.
area. You're from
I'm
Long
from Long
Island.
Island originally, but I know a lot about the pronunciation of
Lynn,
stuff.
City of Sin. You know that one?
No.
Lynn. My grandmother used to say this to me. Lynn, City of Sin. You never come out the way you went in.
Oh, that sounds right.
It's a
I
pretty
would
good one.
say Lowell is that Methuen and Lowell have a
Ooh,
similar,
Methuen
vibe.
Lowell. Yeah. Anyway, these people lived in Boston proper, and they were, for all intents and purposes, very well off. Anna was a real estate developer. She worked for a company in DC. She traveled quite a bit. They had 3 young children. Um, where we start this story is Anna sort of going back and forth to DC from their Boston home, and Brian is on house arrest
Mhm.
because he is a scam artist. He basically purchased these Andy Warhol paintings, originals from a friend in South Korea, brought them back, and then had them reproduced and then tried to sell them on eBay
I
as the
forgot about the
originals.
art part of this.
Yes. So he was found out. He accepted the money from this person who negotiated off of eBay with him. The assistant came to pick up the paintings, took them back. Brian cashed the check. And then the person who purchased them was like, "These have staples in them and brand new canvas, so they're
Yes.
not real."
They're from
And
Michael's Crafts.
yeah, exactly. He, like, put them together and stapled them himself, which, is kind of on par, and that seems like what he does,
Yeah.
in other areas too. So, a federal investigation happened, and he was indicted, and so he had an ankle monitor on and was supposed to be staying home. This all happened around New Year's Eve, 2022. So something happened. It must have been the pandemic.
Something in the water.
21, 22. Karen Read, Sandra Birchmore, something happened in Boston.
It's like in the '70s when there were all those serial killers.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, there are serial killers that are happening right now that we should talk about as well, but
Allegedly.
allegedly in a couple of different areas in the country, which I'm
I know.
really excited about. Um,
So
Not
sick.
because people are dying,
Yay!
but it's just like really interesting
I
serial
know. It's
killers.
intriguing to parse and talk about.
Yeah.
I agree. I'm just
Okay.
saying, this is the shit that makes people roll their eyes at
I
people
know.
like us.
I know. I know.
That and, like, bloody handprints on the art, which we did not do, by the way.
I was going to.
Congratulations to
You
us.
told me not to.
No crime scene tape, no bloody handprints.
What I mean is I'm excited to talk about it with
Yeah,
you
to learn about it.
because the psychology of all of this is so interesting to me and I want to understand us better as human beings.
Okay.
So that's the longer answer for excited.
Okay, little Miss Behavioral Analysis Unit over there.
Hey. Uh okay, so New Year's Eve 2022, they have a New Year's Eve party. Anna leaves a note on this champagne box that says, "This is going to be our year. I love you. Everything's great. We're going to have a great year."
What could possibly go wrong after
What could
that?
possibly go
That's
wrong?
like the opening to a Dateline episode. She lit up a room and she
She
had
lit up a room
optimistic hopes for the future, as evidenced by this note she left on this champagne box.
and she felt so safe, she left the door unlocked.
Yeah.
Yeah. So New Year's
In
Eve
their
comes
leafy
and goes.
neighborhood.
Yeah, exactly.
Just closing the door.
New
I'll be right. It's all right. Okay.
So New Year's Eve comes and goes. By the 4th of January, no one knows where Anna is. She has completely disappeared, leaving her 3 young children with Brian at home.
Yeah.
So the real estate company she works for, the developer she works for in DC, uh, basically says, "Hey, this woman never showed up for work. We don't know where she is. Her husband doesn't know where she is." And so the police start investigating, and we have a familiar name here, Yuri Buchanan,
Ooh, who's
gets
that?
shipped to DC
Uh-huh.
from the Karen Read case, and to, interview a lover of Anna's.
Okay.
And they find out that, for the past, like, 6 months or so, Anna's been in this relationship with this guy in DC. They're very open about their relationship in DC. It's gotten very, serious over the past few months.
Okay.
And Anna has her own place in DC. She has an apartment there, which Yuri, the investigators say, is already set up for the kids to come and live there.
So she's planning an exit from this relationship. It
That's what it
appears.
seems like.
Yeah. I
And
wonder why.
yeah, well, at the same time, Brian has hired a private investigator because he thinks she's having an affair.
Right.
The private investigator goes to DC, starts following this guy, and is reporting back. And so all of this stuff is happening in their lives. It seems like Anna's about to leave him. He's been indicted for, federal crimes of, the art fraud and all that stuff. He also his father died previously, and he didn't get he wasn't a part of the will, but he somehow finagled, conned, not sure how this happened, stole a house out from underneath his family
Oh,
from the will.
okay.
I don't know. So all this stuff, Anna has
He's a
also
shortcut taker. Like, we've heard of this personality type before, right? Somebody who's always looking for the easy shortcut,
Yep.
cutting corners. They could be using the same energy to just be doing great due diligence and making money at their actual skilled job, but instead,
Yeah.
it's like, "How can I scheme this? How can I get that?" And you're always like, "Why are you doing this?" It takes so much more energy to tell all these lies and tell the truth. Like, he's one of those people.
Yeah, and nobody in their lives knew about that.
Yeah,
Knew
and
knew
he has
that about
mental health
him.
issues, something that's now coming to light, which, we shouldn't, like, diminish that because he is
No,
currently in a
for sure
mental
not.
health facility being evaluated for competence for trial, which, by the way, is good. A lot of more
Yes.
people should be evaluated for competence at trial. But anyway, go ahead.
Agreed. Agreed. So basically, Anna is missing. The police start investigating. They immediately hone in on him because I think of everything that's going on. And she had also a couple months earlier with her new job basically signed off on over $2 million worth of life insurance that would go to him if
Yeah,
anything happened to her.
yeah.
So obviously they're like, this is the guy. They start looking at his electronics and they start going through the ankle monitor and his whereabouts over the past few days. And they find that he's gone to Home Depot and bought over $400 worth of basically a dismemberment kit.
Murder supplies,
Murder supplies, a full-on Tyvek suit, saws, all kinds of crazy shit. And he
plastic
went
tape, all that stuff, shovels,
yeah,
whatever. Yeah.
the weirdest detail is he went to after that, he went to CVS and he bought 15 different kinds of peroxide. I didn't know there were 15 different kinds of
Different
peroxide.
concentrations, different brands, all of it.
I don't know, but anyway, he went through all of that. They also
It's
found
weird.
on the iPad of his oldest son a bunch of searches about, the best state to get divorced in, the worst state to get divorced in, how long does it take for life insurance policies to pay off, how to dismember a body, how to like,
How to
what
keep
does
a body
ammonia
from
do?
smelling. I've
Yeah,
seen some of these, and they are like, for all the seriousness of this case, these are
yes,
some of the most cartoonish
yes,
Google searches. It's like you couldn't make it up. It's like,
no,
how to most efficiently dismember a body, where to
yeah,
dispose of body parts where they won't be found. And these are just, I'm paraphrasing, but that is how
yep,
cartoonish they are.
yep, and so the police are like, "Oh shit, he did something bad here."
Or the
So they
son
start
did. How old is
yeah,
the
or
son?
the
Like
son did.
8?
No, yeah, he's like this little kid.
Yeah.
So they start realizing, well, and it's on his
Yeah.
he said his phone was missing or dead or something like that. They find
Lying.
his phone.
Yeah.
He also they have him on surveillance camera going to several different, dumpsters across the state, like, across the state. So
Yeah.
one dumpster in one part, on the other side, and he's throwing, big bags of trash in the dumpsters.
Fun
The
fact.
issue
Fun
yes, go
fact,
ahead.
by the way. They're
Yeah.
actually like commercial waste receptacles. Dumpster is a brand name. Okay, continue.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but
I
you can
had
call
no
them
idea.
dumpsters. It's like Q-tip.
Well, the craziest thing is that one of the things that he researched about these what did you call them?
Just call them dumpsters. It's fine. They're like
Okay.
commercial waste
Well, I don't want dumpster to
management.
come after me because of about
They
what I'm
won't,
about to say.
please. They're going to come after us when everyone uses the word dumpster, like in every murder thing ever. Go ahead.
Okay. So this dumpster, he had done some sort of research to this specific kind of dumpster went to a place that incinerated the trash at 1800 degrees.
Ah,
And to incinerate a body, you have to do it's 1500 degrees. Don't ask me how I know that. But so anyway, so he knew all about that. They carted the trash off. There are 2 issues with this case that I see in going to trial. And one of them is, and this is the most shocking thing to me, there is no body.
right.
And the state of Massachusetts is charging this guy with first-degree murder,
Yep.
and there is no body, and that may be a difficult case for them to make because there's no body.
It's happened
A,
before, but yeah.
yeah, and then B, the surveillance and the tech side of this case with the phones is already corrupt because of Michael Proctor, Guarino, Yari Buchanan. The defense is already asking for a lot of the digital, technology in this case to be thrown out because of all of that.
Right, and we should mention that I believe that I read this a few months ago, that they relied on Cellbrite technology
Mhm.
to, do all this phone stuff, and they relied
Yep.
on the other one, that's also like the gold standard one,
Yeah, I don't
and
remember the name of it.
then in the Karen Read case, the argument was that stuff isn't reliable. Location
Right.
stuff isn't reliable, search stuff isn't reliable, times aren't reliable.
Yep.
So the Walsh team is like, you have these same cops in this other venue saying this stuff is junk. We want to be able to bring that into this case and
Yeah.
basically use it to challenge, impeach them, which wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the defense has to do their job. So where it stands right now, his the hearings keep getting pushed. Brian was also just stabbed in prison. He didn't die. He was taken out and sent to medical. And like you said, he's being evaluated right now for his, mental capacity. His lawyers are you can tell what the defense is going to be, and the defense is going to be that the tech is off and there's no body.
Mm,
And they're saying there's no motive.
yeah.
I can see a motive, and I think a jury would see a motive. But anyway, so that's where we are. We're not sure when the actual trial is going to happen in this case, but the hearings keep getting pushed because of him getting stabbed and also because of him, the mental health capacity. So, do you have thoughts about this trial
I do, but I
coming
have a
up?
question first.
Sure.
Is your dog there? Because I think I hear her.
Oh, sorry. Yes. This is one of the things. This is Ruby.
It's a feature
Yeah,
of our show that we need to acknowledge.
I have a French bulldog, and she snores.
Yes, and I have a Bernedoodle who's often in the studio who also makes noise and sometimes jumps on the couch with me.
Good,
Okay,
yeah. So this
good
is for our
Foley.
audience. If you hear this like sort of snory farting noise, it's not me or Rebecca. It's
Yeah,
usually this one. And look,
yeah.
she's like falling asleep. She sits behind me in the chair. So
Okay, so my thoughts are
yeah.
that if this goes to trial, he will be convicted, whether there's a body or not, because I really don't think that, even with impeachability here, with the evidence, although, a smart jury might just be like they didn't prove it, but the reasonable doubt that he didn't do it is a hard thing to overcome when there's so much motive and those searches exist in some format, right? Unless they can get their own experts to say these searches didn't happen or these searches are corrupt or something. But I think that just the nature of the crime, the cartoonish nature of the searches, if they're allowed in, he
Hmm.
probably will be convicted. And also juries tend to believe that spouses kill spouses. That is a thing.
Yeah.
Um, but my other thought is there is like a pattern here. Now he is accused of killing his wife, soon to be
Hmm.
ex-wife, ostensibly. But he also had all this other criminal stuff going on in his life. He
Yeah.
probably had stuff that he hadn't yet been caught for. He probably had all this other pressure, financial stuff. And he obviously had a lot to gain if she died with there being a life insurance situation.
Hmm.
But that happens in like, and I'm not saying it's obviously I'm not saying it's right, but it is a pattern in family annihilator and spousal violence murder cases
Hmm.
that very often the perpetrator is under like an inordinate amount of pressure. Very often it's financial. It's they've been caught for a crime and it hasn't become public yet and they feel like their life is going to be ruined. This recently happened in a case in New
In New
Hampshire
Hampshire. Yeah.
where very sad case, a woman
Hmm.
who was the regional manager of a wings restaurant,
Hmm.
it's like a beloved place in New Hampshire, murdered her husband and two of their kids. And her husband, by the way, was dying of glioblastoma brain
Right.
cancer. He was a counselor at a regional high school. He was like a beloved guy. She was a beloved woman.
Hmm.
She, though, as has come out, had a history of embezzlement. She had actually been
Yeah.
fired from a previous job many years ago, and I believed maybe served some time or had some criminal punishment for that embezzlement. She was able to kind of bury that, changed her name, and she was now embezzling from her job at the
Yeah.
wings restaurant. And the guy who owns the restaurant, I will say, has done a lot of interviews and he seems like such a stand-up guy.
Yeah.
So he basically his accountant discovered there were hundreds of thousands of dollars missing. This was not a $15,000 case.
No, I think it was 180 or something like
It
that.
was a lot of money
Yeah.
that they were able to find right away, but I think that, it's clear that this has been a long-term pattern. And he basically gave her the opportunity to confess. He said,
Hmm.
"Come meet, bring me your bank statements and we will talk this through." And then she wouldn't do that, and so he was kind of his hand was forced to
Yeah.
bring in the authorities. I think he would have anyway, but I think he would have been what it's clear to me is he would have been more lenient about pursuing charges if she had come clean. It's kind of what he's intimated.
Hmm.
He probably still would have, and there still would have been consequences. But basically, her life was on the precipice of
Right.
being ruined. It was going to be public. They lived in this very big house in this very nice neighborhood, and it was a house of cards.
Yeah.
And when the house of cards was about to fall down, she murdered her husband and 2 of their 3 kids, and the toddler was the only one that she didn't kill. It is an incredibly sad story. Obviously, I think we should just make it clear these things almost never happen without some serious mental health thing at the foundation of it. She had been TikToking about her mental health. She was kind of cracking at the seams, and clearly does not excuse killing a man and children. It does not. But I always think in these cases, like there's mental health stuff behind the embezzlement too. Like,
Yeah.
a serial somebody who just has that, that urge that sees this as a solution, that whatever. There's something going on there. There's something going on with this art thing with Walsh.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
There's a
he's
pathology
not
there. It's an
okay.
untreated pathology there
Yeah.
that I think people can get away with in our society because they're able to cover for themselves by looking quote presentable,
Yes.
and because people around them don't force them to get help, and because there is no help to get. Like in New
Yeah.
Hampshire, there is the social safety net here, the lack of mental health beds. It is a well documented issue. Just look at nhpr.org and search for mental health New Hampshire, and you'll see this is a long term issue. So if she did need psychiatric care, it would be hard to come by.
Right.
Um, so yeah, this is a mix of things. But with the Walsh case, to me, it seems like pressure building, house of cards about to be exposed, and he was going to be
Mhm.
alone because she was going
Yeah.
to take the kids. And what judge in their right mind would say, okay, they have to spend 50% of the time with you, felon, and
Mhm.
50% of the time with their successful mother with a thriving career who's not a felon. Like, no judge is going to do
Right.
that. They're going to award her custody likely. So he probably felt like his house of cards was about to fall.
Absolutely, and I think at the base of it for Brian Walsh, his image and this idea of himself that he had created was probably the most important thing to him. So, he might have been able to keep his friends from knowing about the federal indictment in some
Yeah.
way,
That's
but he wasn't
narcissism, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. He was not gonna be able to keep his friends and family knowing about his divorce,
Right.
or that his wife had been cheating on him, or that she was taking the kids. So I think that I mean, it just to but he it was such a heinous, horrible way to do it,
But she, quote,
and
disappeared. So you think about
yeah,
that, and a person whose spouse disappears can also be seen as a victim. They can also garner sympathy. They can also.
exactly.
This is why everybody thinks Scott Peterson is guilty. People who, I mean, I don't want to get into Scott Peterson. I don't want to get added to that,
Yeah,
but I have serious doubts about that trial in that case. I'll just say that and leave
I
it
do
alone.
too.
But like
We
the
might talk about it at some
yeah,
point, though.
the trope of I killed my wife and pretended she was missing is a well-trod trope in pop culture. It's a well-trod trope in Nancy Grace. There are real killers who have done that, like Chris Watts. There are a lot of real killers who have done just that. But what happens is there's a delusion that for a period of time, and maybe some people have gotten away with it, that they're just going to get sympathy and their life will be able to continue on. They'll get the life insurance. They'll be seen as a victim. They'll have their kids. They'll have everything and they'll just be able to say this person's missing. Like, look at what's his face, Robert Durst. So he
Oh,
did with
yeah.
his first wife, right?
Yep, yep,
It's not an uncommon. I mean, it's not common. When I say not uncommon, I mean it's not unheard of
yeah,
thing to have happened. So I suspect that may have been what's going on. Is that the house of cards was about to fall, and he was like, the house of cards is gonna fall, but I'm gonna make it fall in this other way that benefits me.
yeah. The interesting thing to me and we can wrap this up pretty soon, but, the interesting thing to me about going forward with the trial, however, is I will say I think the defense actually has a strong argument.
Absolutely,
There's no body, and if they can convince the judge to do away with the tech stuff, if the jury never look at it this way, if the jury never sees what he was Googling, what evidence is there? Unless they can tie her DNA to the thing to the then that's what they're trying to do right now.
right.
So the saw, the things that they
The
found,
location stuff, going to different
the location
dumpsters, going to
stuff,
Home Depot and
and
buying a murder kit,
yeah.
like, that stuff is sus, for sure.
They are testing DNA right now to see if her DNA is on any of the tools that were used, possibly, allegedly. So if that comes back, I think the DNA could do him in, but if the judge for any reason decides that any of the digital footprint is out and the jury doesn't see it and they don't have a body, there is a possibility he could get off.
Yeah. People do love a no-body story.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Maura Murray, for fuck's sakes. This thing has,
Yeah.
like, spawned in media empires, like,
Right.
I have very strong opinions about the Maura Murray case.
I do too.
But,
I do too.
which we can discuss in another episode, but,
Yeah.
and it's not what a lot of content creators think happened. But,
Interesting.
yeah. But
Hmm.
when there's no body, the imagination goes wild.
Yeah. Yep.
So, and Robert Durst was a billionaire, you know? He actually got caught getting rid of a body that he dismembered,
Hmm.
and he wasn't able to be charged with murder because the only evidence was him getting rid of the body, so he was charged with, like,
Getting rid of a
illegal
body.
getting rid of a body or mutilating a
Right.
corpse or whatever. It was
Killed them all,
wild.
of course.
Being really rich is very advantageous in these situations.
Mhm, mhm. So, anyway, I don't know what to expect out of this trial, but I know that Michael Proctor fucked it up. I know that much, and I know that, well, I will say one other thing before we move on. I do find it interesting that they are not looking at the boyfriend in DC at all, though.
Maybe they are. How do you know? I mean, if
Well,
if they
because
had
Yuri
investigated
did.
him, yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
maybe they
Yuri and
have and maybe they are. Maybe he's been cleared.
he may have been cleared, but I just think it's interesting that she had a whole other life in DC.
I don't think it's that interesting. Here's the thing. They're
Tell
probably
me.
gonna lose, like, all of our subscribers now.
Oh, Jesus. We
Affairs
only have
fucking happen.
125, so
Affairs happen.
no, they do,
They
yeah, of
are
course.
Nobody would be married
She
if
was
affairs never
unhappy.
happened because half the
Right.
marriages people whether they admit it or not, came from, "I was with somebody, I cheated on them when I fell in love with this person, and now we're together."
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
affairs fucking happen. Affairs are actually not that interesting. Affairs, generally speaking, are not, for me, a super compelling motive for murder because even if you are cheating on somebody and you're terrified of getting caught, you are
Mhm.
aware that this has happened to millions of other people. You're not the
Right.
only person in the
Yeah.
world who's ever had an affair. You know it's gonna suck, whatever. Like, I know plenty of people who've been through this, and it's like the terror, 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 and then when it happens, it's just like, oh, okay, there's like 6 months of it being really hard, and then it's fine, kind of
Yeah.
situation. Everybody moves on. So I think the boyfriend was probably in love with her. He probably had an
Mhm.
alibi, which is probably why. And I would rather not know whether or not he's been looked at than know he's been looked at and have his name be out there when he actually didn't do anything.
Yeah, they've actually blurred out his name in a lot of the I mean, a lot of the news reports that I've been reading and watching, so I'm assuming that they have cleared him, but
Yeah.
I do find it interesting that there was a whole other life, and on top of that, Anna was, she was from Serbia, she had dual citizenship,
Yeah.
and I think she'd only lived here for, like, 5 years or something like that
Poor I
when this
mean,
happened.
I feel bad for this woman that this is the man she ended up with, right?
Yeah, I mean, he just kind of bamboozled
He's a
her, like, and
mess.
I think he did everybody else too.
He's a
He
mess.
had convinced everybody that he was, this well-off dude because his father was well off, and he went with that, but anyway.
Do you think I
So
could
I'm
convince
looking
people
forward
of
to.
that? You think I could get away with that? No.
Yeah, I think you probably could.
I don't know.
With that hair, come on.
I don't know. I mean, it's like the idea of that being a tenet of your like a pillar of your whole personality is that it's important for me to
Mm-mm.
have people think I'm well off. It's like these like love scammer guys who hang out at Vail
Ugh.
ski resorts and
Yeah.
convince women that they're rich and then it's like I just need to borrow money to pick up my car or whatever and it's like the
Dirty
artifice of
John.
being rich garners so much trust like
Yeah.
instantly.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, like, that's the whole case of Dirty John, and he put scrubs on, and everyone thought he was a doctor
I know.
because he
Scrubs
was
with holes.
handsome. Jeez.
By the way, Tara Newell, a
I
very sweet person. I've talked to her many
Oh,
times. She's a very sweet person.
totally sweet. I've talked to her as well. She's wonderful.
Unusual person, sweet person.
Yeah, I mean, she's had a very unusual
Yeah.
life. So, yeah, it makes sense. All right. So going forward,
Mhm.
I think that what we've sort of decided is that we're going to try to tackle some like what we did today, some of the more current cases that are happening. And then we might dive into some what we're going to call like vintage cases like
Classics.
Menendez, classics, things
Deep
like that,
cuts.
deep cuts. And basically, we're gonna try
The greatest
to sort of
hits.
yeah, exactly. Oh, so sad. You're gonna get us canceled.
Oh, come
Alright. We've
on.
only done 1 episode. The greatest hits. Um, yeah, so we're gonna do these sort of like we're gonna do current cases, we're gonna cover vintage cases. If you have a case that we don't know about, that you want us to cover or that you think is interesting, please let us
Or
know.
that you think we do know about and may have takes on.
That's true. Yeah, actually, if you just wanna know what our brains think about
About Maura
something.
Murray. Let us
About
know.
more Murray or Peterson. I mean, Rebecca really doesn't wanna talk about Peterson, but I do.
There are reasons. I've
I know,
I've
because
I'm telling
people get
you.
really upset.
Well, they used to get that way with Amanda Knox too. Like, there
Yeah.
used to be this bot army that would come after you. I mean, Amanda Knox didn't fucking do it. You know how I
No,
know? Because another guy did, and he went to prison for it. And
because of DNA.
because of DNA. And
Because
people
of
just
DNA.
think because they don't like women
Yeah.
and she liked to have sex when she was like 20 that
Yeah.
it's like it's unbelievable. It's on that and it used to be that you could not say that. We used to say this on our show 10 years ago, and
Mhm.
the hate, I had to,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
shut down conversations in our Facebook group or whatever, and it's like, look at the case. Don't look at your
Yeah.
people say, "But I feel like," but I have a feeling that that is not a case. Your feelings about something are not what happened. And what happened in
Yeah.
that case was that Rudy Guarino confessed to doing it. His DNA was everywhere. He took a shit in the toilet of that house. He was arrested, convicted, and spent time in prison for that murder because he did it. So
No,
that's it's not how I feel. That's
Rebecca
what
has
happened.
feelings.
I don't know.
You have
I have
feelings.
feelings about the people saying that their feelings matter more than the evidence. I really
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
really
when there's
bugs me.
science involved, that's why I'm, like, really struggling with this case that I'm working on right now, because the guy who's in prison for these attacks, it was excluded from all of the DNA at
Right.
the crime scene
Yeah.
and had an alibi.
Yeah.
Tell me how that
And
happens.
don't
But
don't
anyway.
don't think that Adnan Syed is likely guilty because you don't like Rabia Chaudhry. Like, that's not a good reason. Or
Mm,
because
mm.
it's often the
Karen Read,
boyfriend. Like, don't fucking do that. Don't do
Pamela
that when there
Smart.
are so much contra evidence to your
Yeah.
feelings. Like,
Mhm.
take a look. I've had my mind changed so many times about
Yeah.
things over the years because I'm like, as I didn't really know that part, you know?
Yeah.
And as soon as you
Yeah.
know the part, you're like, oh, well, okay. See, even
Yeah,
Ruby
that's
has thoughts.
yeah, Ruby has thoughts. She gets all amped up when I'm amped up. That's what happened with me with the Pamela Smart case. I spent my entire life thinking that she was this, you know, slut who got her teenage boyfriend to kill somebody, and then I started thinking about it differently, and when I did, I felt guilty. Like, I felt shame that I had sort of put her in in this box that everyone else had put her in because of what my family talked about, the way they talked about her around me, and what I saw in the news
And because of the
coverage
coverage.
because
Yeah,
of the
because of the
coverage.
coverage. Yeah, and whatever you think, even if you still think that she's a slut who hired somebody to kill her husband, you gotta know her trial was super fucked up.
Super fucked up, and
There
you're
was a
gonna find
juror,
out soon
like,
because
writing a
there's a new
diary about it.
habeas.
Yeah, it's her trial was just watch the HBO documentary about her trial. It
Yeah,
was super messed up. Even if you think she is the worst person in the world, she
sure.
deserves the same rights as the most vulnerable, sweetest person you know.
Yep, she deserves a fair trial. Anyway, all right, we're gonna wrap this up. This was fun, and I'm looking forward to doing this with you every week. And we'll bring a new case next week, and we'll talk about everything that's going on. We are focusing a little bit on like the New England region because I think because I'm from there, you live there. But I also want to talk about one of the bigger cases that is coming up, which is the Long Island serial killer, which
Oh,
you
that's right near my hometown,
I
man.
know,
Like he lived a few miles away from where I grew up
Rex.
and left bodies. Rex Hoyerman, that case, or Hewerman, however you say his name, that case is fascinating. And if you want
Yeah.
to do some homework on it, if you're interested in learning more about it, I recommend that everybody read the book
Oh,
Lost Girls by Bob Kolker.
okay.
One of the best true crime books ever written. It gives you a very victim centric look at this case and how these women sort of ended up in this guy's crosshairs. And it's fascinating. And of course, that case is also fascinating because of the fact that he wasn't caught for so long when they
So
had all the
long.
evidence right in front of him.
Yeah, and
So
witnesses and somebody who could identify him and his truck and all that stuff.
his
I will put a
green
link to
avalanche.
that book, The Avalanche. I will put a link to that book in the show notes. Do you want to tell the audience where they can find you on the socials?
Yeah, you can find me everywhere at Reb Lavoie, and you should really check out my podcast, Crime Writers On. On that show, we basically give you recommendations on what to watch, what not to watch, what to listen to, what not to listen to, and why. We are very good about telling you why something sucks.
And there, yeah, I would say Crime Writers On is was one of the original true crime sort of shows I started listening to. You guys are definitely the OGs, and I love the commentary. I love that there are 4 of you who have usually very different perspectives, even though some of you land on the same side. It's well thought out. You're well spoken, and if I wanna know something about a documentary or a podcast that I haven't heard or seen, I usually check out if you've covered it first and then figure out if I wanna listen to it or not, I'll be
Where can
honest.
folks find you, Mel?
You can find me at the In Between Pod on almost all socials, or Real Mel Barrett on Instagram, and Jack of All Trades DC on TikTok. And then with our YouTube, it's basically Something's Off Pod. So I will put links to everything in the show notes. And again, we're going to release this Fridays, and it's going to come out on Patreon. I think I'm going to do the video and the audio on my Patreon. You
Smash
can
that
do
subscribe button, folks. Smash it.
Yeah, definitely smash the subscribe button. I appreciate everybody who's already subscribed, even though we have no content. You're
Yeah.
amazing, and I love you. But yeah,
Are we
so
gonna give
Fridays
people
on
an
YouTube.
opportunity to tip us at some point? Is that gonna be a thing?
Yeah, I'm gonna include a tip jar. So if you like what we do, there's no budget behind this show or most
None.
of the shows that we do.
None.
Uh, None. So if you like what we do
These
and you
pillows
can
don't pay for themselves, people.
I'm gonna have to start selling Ruby's feet pics on OnlyFans or something. Yeah, so if you like what we do, please give us a tip and sign up for the Patreon and subscribe to the YouTube. And thanks for everything. And we're looking forward to it.
Thanks, Mel. This was really fun.
Yeah, this is fun. All right, we'll see you next week.